Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel where we review anything and everything. And today we are getting into another Marvel figure. So far we've only done one on the channel before, on the Marvel's Legends collection. We did a Thor, but we did a non-unboxing because I was going to keep that as a collector's item and not open it. Well, being how this figure, this Captain America, this Marvel Legends, sorry about the angle, but this Marvel Legends Captain America, Ultimate Captain America, one, the box came in some pretty bad condition, and two, these are the newer boxes which doesn't have the clear plastic where you can see the actual figure. I am not going to keep this one as a closed package type of review or a closed package in terms of me keeping it in that aspect of a collector's item. So let me just adjust the angle a little bit, you guys. So taking a quick look at the package, and then I'm going to go into a deep dive of just some of the lore as much as I know of it. You can see Captain America's here. You can see these are the ones who are part of the wave, these characters here. And this is the Build-A-Figure, Puff Adder, that each one comes with a piece of from this line to build Puff Adder. Here you see some of this art branding, which actually, if I'm not mistaken, comes from, I don't know if it's from a comic picture or there was a Ultimate Avengers movie anime that came out many years back now, well over 10 years ago, maybe even close to 15 years ago. And that was actually pretty good. And that had Ultimate Captain America. And obviously, because it's based on the Ultimates, and I believe this art was from that. And here you could see what Ultimate Captain America comes with in his accessories. He has two additional hands and a different face sculpt, one where he has the angry face and one where he has his plain neutral face. And he comes with the Puff Adder head. So before I jump into opening the figure, what I'm going to get into is some elements of the difference between Ultimate Captain America versus regular Captain America of the main Marvel series, and just kind of some little distinguishing features. So the Captain America that we get in the MCU, I think, is kind of heavily based off of the Ultimate Universe Captain America. And one thing that gives confirmation to that is that in the Ultimate Universe, Nick Fury has the likeness of Samuel Jackson. So obviously the MCU version, where he is a black guy who is of the likeness of Samuel Jackson, well, in the MCU is Samuel Jackson. You can tell that that is really spinning off the Ultimate Universe, carrying over to the MCU. But in addition to that, I feel that the Captain America in the Ultimate Universe, and in the one in the MCU might be a blend of a little bit of both. So I will fairly say that it's probably that. But the Ultimate Universe Captain America definitely feels a little bit more, in my opinion, and I don't know him super well, but a little bit more gritty, a little less of that traditional, Captain America design, and even in the way that his suit is designed. We'll go into a deeper look when I open up the figure, but it takes his suit and makes it more almost like military based, where it's like he's wearing combat boots that are red. He's wearing, combat pants that are blue. His chainmail type of armor suit is a little more tactical. His gloves are tactical, as opposed to being, these kind of flaring gloves where if you look at a different figure or just the image of the traditional Captain America, he has like flailing glove, like the back end of the gloves is just open and flails outwards, and so does the boots. They kind of are a lot more like they have like this kind of double fold around them, but they're very big and padded, and they feel very traditional superhero like. Where this one, that's not the case. And I can't even remember if old school Captain America used to have underwears over his costume, because almost all superheroes back in the days had underwears over the costume. But obviously, Ultimate Captain America is not like that. I don't think the current version of the mainline Captain America is either. But one thing I will say about Ultimate Captain America in this figure is that he can easily, I feel, be used as a regular Captain America or a ultimate Captain America in terms of your collection, because I feel that there's not that much difference between the way the two looks, other than the fact that Ultimate Captain America is a little more tactical, I feel, and a little more modern. And and I actually like the look of that. Um, but yes, and I feel the MCU definitely got a piece of that because even in the first Captain America movie, you would see that he had when he went on his missions after he became like, he went to go save Bucky and then he went on further missions. You could see his suit looked more, it wasn't just the one he was using on display when he was lifting up the motorcycle. It was a little bit more military like. It looked like it was a military outfit colored in the flag colors, but it still looked like a military outfit and not just spandex, that was used for display, like when he was lifting the motorcycle doing the show. So and that aspect, you could definitely see that here with this. This one kind of mimics more of that type of style. Now, some other things when it comes to Captain America, power wise, he's one of those characters, and this is going to dive away from the whole the figure itself, but just a little bit of lore. I always felt that Captain America was one of those characters who was like, when they say he's like, kind of like a fish at a time. But I think that also applied to his power set too, where back in the days when they created him, which I think was 1930. No, I'm sorry, this would have came. I want to say he was created in 1939, and obviously continued throughout to the World War II. But I believe it was 1939, and during that time, you didn't have a lot of superheroes out, so it was one of those things where he didn't need to be the most powerful superhero, and obviously to not overthrow the challenge of what was right in front of us, which was war at the time. It made sense to have a person who could fight in the war rather than destroy the war completely, because it gave a sense of purpose for the character. Fast forward to the more modern times, even when you reach to like say the 90s, but especially the early 2000s and the 2010s, his character was almost obsolete in terms of power wise. So it was very interesting how he then had to really compensate for a lot of things in terms of, um, you know, in terms of them saying he had this high tactical mind. Not to say he never had it before, but his leadership qualities being respected in the superhero community. If you're familiar with the way the comics work, where it was like his presence superseded his power level. And even though he would try to contend against characters who were a little bit above him, a very large stretch was when he went up against Iron Man, who obviously was holding back. But in the Civil War storyline from the comics, which later on went to the MCU, clearly Captain America would not be able to hold his own against Iron Man, and Iron Man did hold back, and still Captain America was against the ropes most of the time. With that being said, the ultimate version, the reason why I say that, the ultimate version, idea of the ultimate universe was to more modernize a lot of not only the origins of the superhero characters, but some of their power sets to be a little more modernized. So with Captain America in the Ultimate Universe, he actually had stats that were greater than his normal mainline counterpart. So I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with the 1 to 7 stats that Marvel used to put out from way back in the days on their Marvel cards and whatnot. But back in the days, the stats would go from 1 to 7. So essentially breaking things down and translating it for you. Captain America's stats were as follows. He had a strength 2, which is a maximum 800 pounds. He had a speed 2, which was a maximum of about 20, somewhere between like 25 and 29 miles per hour. Um, he had agility 5, which agility 4 was the peak of a normal man. Agility 5 was considered slightly above the limits of a normal human, which where the super serum played its role, where someone like Daredevil has a 4, which is like the best a normal man could have. Um, Captain America borderline into the territory of superhuman in certain stats, and that was one of them, as well as his stamina 4 he had, which equated to somewhere between anything over an hour, but less than a day, so several hours. Um, of stamina at operating at your peak level, meaning that he could be in a fight for a very long time. Hence, where you get the whole "I could do this all day." As far as his durability, it was a durability 2, but you would assume the highest of a 2, meaning that um, he could take pretty much anything a normal man could, the best that a normal man could possibly take. But then we throw in the fact that he has extremely dense muscle structure because his physical strength being able to lift 800 pounds, where no normal man would be able to lift 800 pounds over their head. That's not a bench press. That's not halfway up your arm. That's 800 pounds over your head, which technically, even though they try to say he's peak human, it's it's actually superhuman for his weight and height and all those other things. No regular man can lift 800 pounds over their head straight up. So with that considerable amount of strength and his dense muscle tissue, he is the highest of our durability too, which is supposed to be human level, but essentially it's almost borderline superhuman level when we factor in also that he has a healing factor. Now it's not a Wolverine healing factor, but I like to consider it basic superhero healing factor, which falls into that realm of, if he had a fight or whatever the case is, by the next day, he'll probably be able to operate at almost near his max capacity. Even if he has some bruising and some sore muscles, he's still going to be able to operate, unlike the standard human where you're probably in bed for like weeks before you recover. So he, with that factor, his healing factor and the best durability of a human you could have, it starts to borderline almost superhuman levels of durability where he can get shot multiple times. He's not going to die. He can like get hit with a bat over like maybe his arms. Arms probably not going to break. Things of that sort. So he is definitely heightened in that area. And obviously the rest of the stats, well, his intelligence was rated a little bit above normal, I think, or it was either normal or intelligence 3 was slightly above normal. But really catering to those physical differences. The only other really stat that mattered was fighting ability, which he had a 7. He's always considered a max in that area. Now, the reason why I say that is because the Ultimate Captain America, though I was never had a chance to actually see the stats, they're actually, you could tell from the animations that I seen him in and some data that I looked up that he actually is a bit more powerful. So the areas that I would say that are different than the mainline Captain America would be that Ultimate Captain America is able to lift about 4.5 tons. And this was seen, demonstrated in that movie where the Ultimates movie, where, if I'm not mistaken, he lifted up, I think he pushed over a tank before. I'm not really sure. I know he lifted up something very heavy, but I did look up and do the research that he is able to lift about 4.5 tons. In addition to that, durability wise, he had taken a couple of blows from the Hulk into that movie where even though he was bloody, he was still standing on his feet. And those hits were the type that slammed you against a wall, and that wall was either breaking, or if he slammed against like into a tank, that tank got indented inwards. So this is considerably the type of damage that a normal man would just fall to pieces on, or be knocked out completely or dead on impact, or whatever the case is. So his durability looked like it went up to somewhere in that range of maybe like a 4, which would be the equivalent of, say, somebody like Beast, or whatnot. I could even say, even if you want to lowball into the durability level of a 3, which is Spider-Man's level. But the point was he was able to take significant damaging hits and not be dead. It did hurt him a lot, but he was still on his feet. So the Ultimate version of Captain America is definitely more upscaled in his power level to fit with modern times. So that was the purpose of saying that. And I know the video is ranting on. I'm sorry if you were just expecting a clean, straight to opening up the package type of unboxing, but I like to get into this stuff. So without further ado, we will jump into it now. And my box, as you already seen, is pretty beat up, which is why I am going to not mind unboxing this at all. Let's get into this. A little bit, you guys, so you guys can see a little better. So this is Captain America in the package. Let's try to get him out of here without beating him up too much. It seems to be packed pretty well. It's unfortunate that the box is so damaged up, but like I said, with this new wave line of boxes, which most people who've collected any of these figures know that that the boxes have changed now, so they're less display orientated and more for you to just kind of, unpack them, and you could save the box, but it's not going to be for the purpose of display. Here goes the alternate head, the regular face, and there goes the Puff Adder head, which obviously is, yeah, they have the same size holes. So who knows? Maybe you could put a Puff Adder head on Captain America. Here goes the shield, and I like that they packaged it separately just to make sure that nothing happens to it. We've got his other hands. the fist hands, and this is his shield, which definitely is nice size shield. But I've heard a lot of people say that this right here is a weakness, where this piece right here, I'm sorry about the focusing, this little piece right here, that it ends up, what ends up happening is it ends up um bends when you put it on his arm, and you could see like the tension on it where it starts getting white. If you've ever seen that on certain plastic, like it's starting to like lose its retention, or it starts looking like it's going to break soon. It gets that wear on it, and I've heard of people saying that, so that's definitely a negative. And here goes the figure. I'm going to throw a link in the description where you can purchase it on Amazon. um, I think he looks actually very nice, and I think that the figure, definitely, like I said, could, if you, this is a, being that it's a more modern Captain America, he has a lot of nice bells and whistles in terms of his detail and features and whatnot. But if you're just looking for a Captain America for your line and you don't have one, if you are a major collector, I will say that this can play good for your regular Captain America, and not saying that he's an ultimate Captain America, just putting him with your regular line. I don't think it really makes a difference. You just view him as a more modern suit, and that's really it. Um, he obviously has articulation. Uh, in his wrist. It's a little stiff right now. You got in his elbow, you got in his shoulder area, and then his lower shoulder area. He can twist. He's a little stiff right now, so I'm not going to overly do him. He's got some, obviously, articulation in his head. He's got his legs with the, people say, is pinless joints, so that's kind of cool. I guess that's a modern thing in the line. His belt is nice because it feels like a different material, so it gives it a dimensional aspect of it. He can, his torso can bend, but it's pretty stiff right now too. I'm not going to really get into the whole overly articulating him right now, because I'm a big stickler about not having loose figures. Some people like to move their characters all over the place without realizing that as you do that in time, and I came from the era of G.I. Joe, you do that all the time. Eventually, your heroes are going to be loosey goosey all over the place. Here he has a spot to put his shield. Goes into a little, the peg goes into a little hole, and that's a nice look. I've seen different figures that have the whole straps, but this is fine for practical use. Let's see if I can get him to stand. Not bad. I'm not going to test out all the different hands and all like that. This is more of a review of just you guys seeing the character and me explaining him, because this character's been out for a while. I'm a little late to the party, and just kind of showing him off a bit. Now let's see if I can get this on without it actually causing problems or breaking. If you shimmy it a little bit, it seems to help. Like I said, nice size shield, nice gloss to it. I think the figure looks really nice. Let's see about popping the head off. I've never done this before, so there we go. So now he's got his regular head on. So it all depends on the one that you like. I think they both actually look really nice. Here, when it looks like he's in a battle or he's angry, and then he's got his regular one. So whichever one you like best, definitely looks really cool. The detail in the figure. One little thing I'm going to point out, where some people might, like to talk about paint apps. Let's see if this thing ended up having that issue after I did this. So you could see there already, just from that time of me doing this, see a little bit of white in the thing. It gives a crease mark where you could tell that it's that force on it is really putting that strain on it. So that's what people were referring to when they say, like, too many times of doing that and it might end up breaking. So that's something to be wary about. Um, I was going to point out, because I've seen this on another app one time. I mean, on another review one time before. So if you look here, along up his arm, you see right there the little trim of the blue chainmail, we'll call it, for lack of a better thing, because I don't know if it's considered chainmail, but you see that lining that goes along with it. right? While the rest of the lining has the gray lining from the gray part. And then that piece right there is the lining of blue. On this side, let me move this so you're not getting that in focus. Sorry about that. Here you can see that lining of the gray is what stands out more on that lining frame versus this one is more the blue of the trim, that if you can see that line. So yeah, that's one thing where it's a small thing. It's not a big thing to me, whatever, but some people might feel a certain way about that. So, and other than that, like I said, you could see here how his everything looks very tactical, very modern, very military like. I like the old school Captain America, but like I said, you could use this for both types. So that's that. Like I said, I'm not really with the whole reviewing these type of figures. I know there's a lot of people who really go a lot deeper into it in terms of the articulation and comparing it to other types of figures, but I actually don't really have a lot of Marvel Legends figures, and only one that I actually have I didn't take out of the box because I'm keeping its collector's item. So this really kind of is about it for this here. Like I said, these are the fist options you can do if you want to have him fist fighting with someone. And with that being said, you guys, as always, like, share, subscribe, comment, and I will catch you guys in the next video.